Morning, everybody. Hello.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning. Oh, my sound is off. Why? Hang on. My video on my IG is frozen.
Isn't technology awesome? So annoying sometimes.
Well, I don't know what happened there. Okay, live. There we go. Okay, now I'm live there. All right, so welcome everybody. Happy Wednesday. Morning miracles here, Course of Miracles. We'll get started like we normally do now, is just getting grounded into this moment. So, welcome to this holy instant. And for those of you guys that are with us on the social medias, good morning, good morning. So if you're not driving and you're in a place where you can tune into this moment, you can join me and close your eyes and just take a couple deep breaths in. And with every out breath, let go of the past and let go of the future. And just start to tune into the here and now. Loosening your shoulders, letting it drop just a little bit more. And the contemplation today, this morning, is going to be about the body. What is the body? And so as you breathe in this precious air, precious moments of now, imagine yourself on the most beautiful field with flowers, animals, whatever is going to be there. It's the most beautiful field that you can imagine in your mind's eye. And at first, you see yourself standing in the middle of the field, just taking in its beauty. And you hear the sounds of the wind, the trees, and the chirping of birds, and the smell of flowers, of life. And you notice that you're not even there anymore. You don't see the body. That you are the sound. You are the smells. And as far as you can go, just take in the beauty of this amazing field that you're on. And wherever you are, I want you to put a fence, a circle. Whatever the fence looks like, it's fine. If it's white, brown, Whatever fence comes to your mind, just put it around in the circle on the field. And this fence, how does it represent the body? And who are you? Are you inside? Are you outside the fence? Are you the fence? Because the body is like this fence. What will you identify with? And I'll give you guys a couple moments to just reflect on this symbology of the body in this fence. And who are you? Are you inside? Are you outside? Are you the fence? And the Course says that through the body's eyes, through the body's sight, we see fences that separate what's inside and what's outside. And this fence can either teach you the limitations of the body, this analogy, or it can teach you what it is not. So the reflection today is, what is the body? And who are you? And we'll begin to bring that back and come back to this call. And take a couple deep breaths in as we return back to here, from our minds, from one reality to another. And welcome. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a beautiful Wednesday morning. Is it Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. I had the most amazing weekend. I got a chance to rest from all the go doing energies that I've been, probably doing for the last, 6 months straight, right? Just Zoom after Zoom after Zoom, meeting after meeting, conference after conference. And I know a lot of us that are in the real estate space are kind of in that grind right now. And for some of you, it might only have been like a couple months. For others, maybe a couple years. But it's the grind. Anything good that you want to have, you are going to have to work hard for it. Okay, and this weekend I got a chance to officiate a wedding. And the whole weekend I was thinking leading up to it that what an honor it is for somebody to ask you to marry them in front of their whole family and their friends. How important of a day that is for someone to ask you to do that. I look back at all the times that I showed up, right? Like, I think everybody should strive. I think everybody should strive to officiate a wedding. Like, do your relationships in your life so that you can officiate a wedding. I think that should be a goal, um, because it means you had to have put in a lot of work in that relationship, not just for the groom or the bride, but also, but both, not just one or the other. That you have to have made an impact in two people's lives in that way. Or the other way is you've given yourself over to being a pastor and influencing and speaking to a whole church like that. And but either way, that type of commitment and dedication to serving others, to being in contribution to other people's lives so that they ask you to officiate a wedding, it is such an honor. And I just felt extremely grateful this weekend that I got the chance to do that. And writing the speech and, speaking in front of people like that, that's different than what I've been used to doing. Right. And good that I've had a bunch of practice these past couple of years on Zoom and, in little meetups and on different stages where I got a chance to speak in front of people. So less nerves, of course. Yeah, that was really amazing. I feel like I got a chance to rest this weekend from all the doing as well. And that little period of rest actually brought a lot of clarity to me about where I want to take, what legacy I want to create. We talked a lot about this weekend about legacy of coming together of families. They asked me to lead a family circle as well. So it was really cool. I got a chance to bring A Course in Miracles into their lives. It was really interesting, and people sat there, and I saw people nodding, and I brought not as heavy of things. I went very basic. I talked about relationships and legacy, and so yeah, today's topic. I felt like I was just gonna put legacy in there. But continuing from last week's call, for anybody that is new and anyone that is on, the Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, what is the Course in Miracles? Right. So you can check out the last live that I did. I kind of went straight into just entirely what is the course. But to kind of sum it up, A Course in Miracles really it kind of offers a very transformative and unique approach to understanding and healing our relationships. And and the whole point of it is to guide us towards deeper levels of love, deeper capacity of love and forgiveness, and really to generate inner peace. How we do everything. Like the title I put today is, it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Can you do things with peace? Can you do things without wanting something in return or wanting an acknowledgement or recognition? Right. So the course makes two distinctions about relationships. One is called a special relationship, which is really the ego's. It's a reflection of the ego's desire for self-interest or personal gains. Okay. And a lot of times these relationships are based on expectations, based on attachments. There's a sense of lack, fear, guilt, shame. And these relationships are often filled with a lot of conflicts, judgments, and a constant need for validation. Okay. And the course really encourages us to shift our perceptions and our approach to relationships. And so the other type of relationship that the course says is a not based off of the ego's desires. It is deeper in spiritual connection, And these relationships are referred to by the Course as holy relationships, where love and forgiveness and compassion and gratitude replaces fear and judgments. And so, um, whether it's our romantic relationships, our family relationships, our friends, it every relationship provides an opportunity for healing and awakening, rather than seeking for validations and approvals and all of that from others. Is to really recognize that all of what we want, truly the peace that we want, comes from inside us and not from outside. And that happiness and wholeness really is an inside job. Okay. And so the practices of the Course is by practicing forgiveness or clearing or letting go of grievances, the releasing of a need for control, so that we have a chance to shift our relationships from a special relationship to a holy relationship. And in that, we tap into the divine essence of ourselves and of others. And the Course says through Christ consciousness, or you can call it seeing the light in others, right, that we will see it in ourselves. And that everyone is a reflection, as a teacher for us. So we talked about this weekend a lot of legacy that we want to leave behind. And so this conversation today will, I'll go into legacy, especially with what I'm up to, what I'm creating. I think it's, I do a lot of real estate. Real estate is my main source of income, is what I'm passionate about doing and teaching. And it's not just about buying a building. It's not just about buying real estate. There needs to be something behind it. It's not what I'm doing, it's how I'm doing it. And a lot of it is about legacies, investing with purpose as well. So I've been really inspired by Tony Hsieh and Zappos and the whole culture that was created in there. And, a purpose in what I'm doing in Vegas. Jeff, what's up, brother? Is to carry on a legacy that was created by Tony, and a uh, an idea, a culture that Tony generated to start, and we get to carry that forth. I'm gonna bring my brother Jeff here on live, since he requests to be live with me, and then we'll talk a little bit more about how parenting. No, I'm actually in Jersey right now. I just put. Hey, what's up, brother? How's it going?
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, good. It's good to have you join us this morning. How's it going?
Great to join you, man. I appreciate you, man. We're doing the new Andy Elliott thing, six pack or you're fired. You see him putting that out there?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, you know how he's a little crazy, but I was doing it. We have a whole team of consultants, and I'm training. One of the kids wakes up, he actually is out that way. He wakes up at 4 a.m. to get on calls today,
Wow, that's awesome. Hey, I saw something great that you did with Angela Duncan.
Yeah, dude, Angela Duncan, Amazon bestseller. That took a lot of work there.
Yeah.
A lot. She's also doing her first event for women, and that's the next little heat that we're behind to help doing that, getting sponsors and all that stuff too with her brand. Yeah, let me read you my 5 years. Can I read you my 5-year goal? I did this on a coaching thing.
Yeah, sure. If it's not going to take a long time, go ahead.
No, it's not 5 years. So it's one of those things. Like, I don't know if I have it. I haven't read it yesterday. Let me see. I might have it. But yeah, dude, I gotta connect you with my buddy Andy because you're making Vegas the best place to live in Vegas, correct?
Yeah, Vegas is where I am investing and putting my efforts and energies into.
Yeah, so I was just got off a call with my licensees. We're actually licensed out my material now. I don't read it because I need to read it. I shouldn't even be able to read it. I should just say it all the time. All right, now let's see if I can actually do it from memory. It's August 28th. It's August 28th, 2028. Oh man, this is bad. Next time I'll read it to you. All right.
All right.
And
well,
sure,
Know it by heart.
Shower.
Yeah, know it by heart, right? I mean, it's you know the gist of what you want. So
this is when I first paid for my first coach. This was $7,800. I got this 5 years. I see myself in, and everything that I'm doing right now, Alex, everything I wrote down. Today is the day that I'll be living in Miami. Oh, here, I'll show you this. Talk about real estate. This is what my man Robert was on one of your calls. He crushed it too. But look, down here, I'm gonna build Kokomo Jays. Right there, that got land up for development. So I'm going to look at investing down here, and they're developing that land here in Miami. So that's what I'm going to build Kokomo Jays with the McDonald's strategy. You know, own the real estate and then just start building franchise. So we're a long way from that. That's my goal. So just build a consulting. We're going to actually build we'll have to have you in studio here, a celebrity podcast studio. Once I close a few more consulting gigs.
All right, I'll be honored.
To be on Roku and Amazon Fire TV.
Awesome.
So we go all branding, marketing, all the right way, you know? Yeah. So what's new with you?
So the conversation this morning is on legacy, right? So we're talking about what we want to leave behind and what we're creating, and to invest and do business with purpose, with legacy in mind, with the impact that we want to leave on people and the environment and the communities and our families and our friends. And this weekend, I got a chance to facilitate a wedding and officiate a wedding. And it really had me think about this, you know, that we should be doing relationships in such a way that people will ask us to officiate the most important day of their lives. You know, so.
Yeah, dude, I just got asked to do the same thing. Were you nervous doing it or no?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Nerves always come up every time I'm about to go live, every time I do a Zoom, nerves do come up. So, yeah. But
so Grant was a big mentor of mine for a long time, right? And Grant's such like a wild card, so I love being a wild card, just being entertaining. So I actually found it here. But my buddy Sean is getting married, and next year, September 24th, they don't shut down the world. I said, I'm betting that they're going to shut it down before that. Not really, but just plan ahead, right? We never had to plan for this before, so just make sure my business and everybody I'm working with has a tangible online business, you know. Mm-hmm. But here, this is my 5-year plan. It's really quick. Can I read it?
No, that's too long. I'm in the middle of a Course in Miracles spiritual conversations, but you can let me know for sure. You should post it. You should tag me, and I definitely want to see it and hear it for sure. But that was really long. That looked like a long thing.
You ever do any Scientology stuff or no?
I don't know. I mean, it's probably I have not really looked into it. I know Grant is into Scientology and all that. So.
Well, because a few of my friends were at his event this week and they're asking me what I thought about it. So I was just curious because usually what I do is I get people that I admire, I trust with the same heart. I always ask their feedback on it. So that's all
I have no judgments, no thoughts about Scientology or any of that. So, you know.
No, neither did I. Do you know Andy O'Day? This is why I want to connect with. This is why I came.
No, I don't.
So he's looking to invest in real estate in Vegas. He lives in Vegas. He owns a marketing agency. He actually owns a Go High level called Greta. But his wife is in real estate, and they're always looking for deals. So I'm going to connect you with him. He's just a great, solid dude.
Okay, awesome. Do that. All right, I'm going to return back to this call here. But I appreciate you joining. You know, it's a beautiful surprise that you joined us here this morning.
Yeah, my man. Sorry about that.
No, you're good, brother. You're good.
All right, see you later.
All right, catch you later, brother. All right, so back to where we were about legacy and, you know, what we're leaving behind for our kids. Also, Jeff is a good friend of mine, and it's always great to see him live. I always check out his lives. He hops on mine, and, you know, so I wanted to give him a moment there to say hi. Okay, so this conversation about legacy, right? What happens with, you know, who are we most influenced by, you know, growing up? I think, you know, our parents or our caretakers, our guardians really influence us a great deal, you know, but what happens often, especially with our parents and the older generation, is, you know, a special relationship tends to get created. And it's not like it's anybody's fault. It's just there's an unconsciousness that happens through projection, the Course calls it. And so some of those things will look like expectations and conditions, right? So parents may unknowingly place expectations and conditions on their kids, on their behavior, on their achievements, and also their identity. I was just talking to a friend and he's like, I knew nothing except becoming a doctor. And that's all I knew. And I was so disconnected from the rest of the world, from any suffering, any reality of the world, that there was anything else other than being a doctor. Because that was the projection from the parents, right? The fear and the guilt that parents have about, oh my God, I hope you don't end up this. You need to have a good life. And that's what they knew, right? Especially Asian parents it's you're a lawyer or you're a doctor. Okay. So what happens a lot is a different way that it shows up, special relationships, is in like control and manipulation. So you can kind of take any of these things and look at your own life, if this happened for you, or maybe even you are in a position of being a parent or some sort of mentor, where there's a wanting for somebody to be something, other than what they already are or who they already are. Right? We're like, oh, if you do this, then this is going to happen. And there's just a sense of, it comes from a place of like fear. So control and manipulation sometimes shows up. Control and manipulation sometimes, parents may feel the need to control and manipulate their children's choices and their actions. I mean, sometimes this is, before they turn like 7, you probably should, move them away from like a boiling pot or something like that. Yes. But, as they get older and start to come into their own awareness, sometimes parents will, control and manipulate. So what can stem from this is, fear, that kids will have, and we grow up with a disconnection in the relationship because we don't feel safe to be honest to our parents. Like every one of us, probably when we were young, because there was some sort of control and manipulation or expectations and conditions, that we were like, oh, I'm not going to tell my mom this is what I'm doing. Right? It could look like sneaking out of the house. It could be like going to a party or whatever and kind of lying about it. Why would that, like, how was that relationship created? That a safe space wasn't available to tell the truth, right? And then, this happens a lot for dads, I guess. Dads have this like over identification, wanting their kids to be like, sometimes I catch myself, I'm like, I want my kids to play sports for sure. I want my kids to be really good at basketball, really good at football, like just, really good at sports. So it could be like an over identification where we, over identify with our children's, kind of wanting to live vicariously through their experiences and their achievements. And in that we rob them, right? And we tie, and sometimes parents will tie their own worth to the success of the children. And so that can also happen. And then this kind of, I see this more for moms, is like emotional, or financially free, like emotional dependencies too, right? I have a friend who, her and her mom, like, she's like, my mom's got emotional dependency, like, it's just so much guilt and shaming if the kid, if my friend was to do anything else besides doing it with her mom. So there's that. And then it also creates lack of boundaries. And then, so these things are all different examples, that, and it's not like all parent and child will have these, but it falls into some of these types of patterns when we're unconscious about what we are leaving behind, right? When we're focused on, our expectations. This is what I want to have happen. And really, the Course says all of our fears and all of our guilt and shames and everything that we feel, it comes from a place where we think we know better than God, really. Okay, I'm going to put it that way. We think we know better than God. We think we know better than the Creator. Yeah. So, any thoughts on that? I know I kind of just poked the bear for a lot of people. Maybe if you're a parent, or if you're someone that received that, right, from your parents. If anybody wants to share anything, there's a book called "Our Mothers Ourselves." Explain all different mother types. Yeah, and it's so important. Yeah, go ahead, Claudia.
Yeah. So I just put that book in there because that's exactly what you're speaking about. It's about the mothers. They have their kids as trophies. Mm-hmm. So they say, oh well, their success is measure in what the kids have done in life. And are the ones that they call one is super hilarious because it's the helicopter that has to know everything, even when the child is an adult. They need to know everything that the child does. It's very interesting. But talking about the culture, you say about Asian, and I can tell you about the Latin culture is not too far from the Asian culture, right? So it's about the same thing. Like it's what you do and know what you be. And even though with all the work that I've done, I had catch myself, like you say, trapped in the program of my family or my parents and culture and family extension that have done this program in me and how to deprogram myself and project it into my children, right?
Yeah.
And I can say one really simple one, like until recently, my mom used to make a lot of food for the kids. And if they didn't like her food, she would say to them, if you don't eat the food, means you don't love me. And I would get so triggered that it was insane. So that's one of the things that I can tell you that, like a simple, basic daily comments of my mother was that if you don't eat my food, means you don't love me.
Yeah.
And it was so distorted and so disturbing when I realized, because that's the way how I grew up. So it was not distorted until I became conscious about it. And the other thing that happens as well is when, families or even your mother start comparing your kids with your siblings' kids. That's another level then.
Yeah.
And start bringing things from the other houses, and constantly you have to, keep reminding that's their home and this is another home. So yeah, that's sure. What I just wanted to share.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean this happens for all of us. I was this weekend, actually somebody was sharing with me that she went home after her sabbatical and all the things that she's done, a lot of traveling in South America, and picked up a lot of practices, and she came home and she was meditating, and her grandmother freaked out. Her grandmother thought that the devil was coming and all this stuff was happening, and like, it sounds insane, but it's real for people, right? Like, especially like the older generations where they were like, this is the way things are done. There's no questioning about it. And I think we're moving into an age where information becomes very available, and we can discern for ourselves where we want to take, our faith and all of that, and who we want to be, right? We're no longer like, this is how it's done, right? So, and she was just like, I was so triggered, I had to leave. And, she's like, Grandma, if you think this is happening, then you really don't see me. And see, there's one projection, one fear, the grandmother's fear produces another retaliation of fear, right? And the attack just happens. And so here we go. The ego's like, nice, the fight begins, and separation is obviously the result of what's going to happen, right? So that happens. And it's not, and I was sharing with her, I was like, can I share with you some teachings of A Course in Miracles? She's like, yeah, of course. So, for you to even think or bring to your mind that, Grandma, you don't see me, it actually is if you turn that around as a mirror, you are not seeing your grandmother. You are not meeting her fears with love and compassion. But you expect her to meet your meditation with love and compassion when automatically we do the same thing. Right? So in that is a great teaching moment. If we're willing to look at it, that when these types of things happen and we get triggered, that we can flip the mirror around, that the way that we can even perceive attack happening, we must make attack real in our minds already. And if it's real in our minds, it will be projected outwards. So here's a moment that she could, neutralize and meet her grandmother with compassion and love, and actually teach love and compassion right there in that moment. Right. And she's like, oh, maybe in a couple months I'll go back and we'll have this conversation. I'm like, couple months. Right. Like, life is now. Who the hell knows if she's even going to be around in a couple months. Right. So, like, obviously I didn't say that. I just let her be with it. Just, whatever. I trust that whatever was said through loving thoughts and just wanting to heal relationships. And I hope I send a lot of love that way to that relationship. So that happens for all of us. Like, my wife and I just got into like a little fight last night about something. And, usually before A Course in Miracles, I always make sure that, we are in a good place. I apologize and I hug her and kiss her. But, it must have been kind of bad enough, or enough, angst in it, that she knows that this would happen, but she decided to leave the room before A Course in Miracles, like even an hour before. And I don't know where she is now, but, I can only send love in my mind now, right? Like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm clearing this for myself. I forgive myself for for distorting it and participating in this fight. And, and it was so stupid. It was like the dumbest thing. I don't even know why it would escalate, but this is what happens. Like, the ego is looking for something to grab onto. It's like, oh, you guys are so good. You guys don't fight over big things. Well, I'm going to have you guys fight over the smallest, dumbest things. And because it's so small and dumb, that when you guys get into a fight over it, you're going to be angry at yourselves for even arguing about something so dumb. It was over. We're packing to leave, and I'm moving, carrying the heavy stuff out, and I left my toiletries on the sink. And for some reason, that caused a major fight, that I'm not like considerate, and then all of this, and I was like, what? And so, and when we get upset, we say things that are not even real. But, and it was like, things like, oh, well, through our whole relationship, I'm tired of being your mother. I'm like, what? And so that triggers me. And so then I get into a whole thing like, oh yeah, well, this is how I'm considerate and you're inconsiderate. And now we just went into some stupid fight about a bunch of stuff that isn't even real for us, but we're just drawing anywhere we can to find some ammunition. Right. And I'm really bad at it. Like, this is why I can't win fights, and I just get angry because I can't remember anything. Like, I've done so much clearings around stuff that, I don't remember. I'm like, what did we fight about last time? I can't remember the stuff that I get upset at. And so I sound like a dumbass when I get into an argument with her, because I can't draw any evidence from anywhere because I can't remember. And so I get more angry because I can't find anything to argue over. So, dumb stuff like this happens, and we just get to heal it. So after this call, of course, I will go and find her and, have a calm talk. So, Anyways, anybody want to share anything from this topic and this conversation so far this morning? So if you haven't noticed, I am in a hotel room. I am not in my normal studio back at my house. Yeah, we're just I still don't want to miss these calls, you know. Okay. Who else? What else?
I have something to share. I recently
Go ahead, Natalia.
experienced. Oh, go ahead, Brooke.
No. Mine's quick. I just wanted to say that I'm cracking up over here because it's just every relationship. It's not every relationship, but it's just me and my husband have those stupid ass tiffs. We've known each other for over 20 years. We've known each other since college, previously married. And I've learned to let the small shit go. But when you were talking about the toiletries and all of this stuff, it's never about the effing toiletries, okay? It's never about your socks being on the floor, or the fact that your underwear 10 feet from the hamper, or the fact that your cup has been sitting there when there's a coaster right there. And now my nice thing, I'm like, it's not a frat house. Like, take pride in your surroundings. And I'm very like OCD, clean and order. Everything has a spot. And when they're looking for shit, well, if it was where it was supposed to be at, we wouldn't have this problem, would we? So I'm getting a kick because that makes me know I'm not alone.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I'm just telling you, there's more than just the damn toiletries. It's something else that built up because we internalize shit. And I tell myself, I'm gonna let the small stuff go. It's easier for me just to pick it up than bitch about it and cause an argument. Turn off the lights, turn off the fans. Why is nobody in the living room? The TV's effing blaring. So then that one little thing that happens, I trip over a shoe or a doggy toy. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? So yeah, it's never about the toiletries, Alex, but that's
Yeah.
it.
So I remember our argument now. See, I couldn't even remember our argument which happened last night, which was, you know, she said that exact thing. I was like, it's not about these things. Or what was it? What did you just say? It's never it's what?
It's like the repetitive
it's a
of stuff. Like
piling
as
up of
women,
these
we
things.
try to pick our battles, right?
Yeah.
And so when it's a constant slew of choosing our battles, and it's easier for me just to pick up the shit, turn off the lights, turn off the TV. So then by the 100th time, 50th time I'm having to do it again, I'm very pissed off at this point. So it's a cumulative of previous shit added up that I let slide, that I don't want to bitch about every effing thing that annoys me, because my friends and my husband will joke around, babe, it's not our problem that you're effing OCD. You have a military family, you got everything that belongs here. Cleanliness is very important to me. So to them, I just shut the doors. Then I'm like, okay, cool. Then don't get mad when I put your shit back, you know, and it's, whatever.
So I remember what I said now. So, you know, and it's dumb. It's just like a fight. We can all like, you know, relate to these types of things. You know, afterwards I was like, oh, so every time you do these things, like you're calculating or tallying or something, huh? And I was like, okay, from now on, I don't want you to do anything. Like, don't do anything. Like, you know, my whole thing is always like, and I try to practice and teach this, of course, is, you know, when I do something, I do it, and then I just cut the cord. There's no attachments to it. I'm not counting it for the next time. Right? I try to do it like, okay, this is the first time that I'm doing it. And then the next time I'm doing the same thing. This is the first time I'm doing it. So that's my own practice, right? But then it's emotional load up, and I get that. So maybe it's a woman thing or whatever, but
no, it's a pick up after yourself thing, Alex.
I pick up after myself. Okay, so, you know, I feel like a lot of times I am being considerate and picking things up, you know, and I feel like I intentionally do it. And if she's like, well, you're never considerate of me. I feel like this whole relationship, you've never been considerate of me once. I'm like, holy shit. Like, really? You know, so that's
hardcore.
So we say, I mean, when we get angry, we say things because we want to intentionally hurt the other person or draw some sort of response to justify our anger, right? Like, that's really what's going on. Like, we're saying things that aren't even true, but we say it out of anger and out of the ego. Now, what gets to happen after this is me on the receiving end of it. I need to do some sort of forgiveness process, letting go, forgive myself, forgive whatever is happening, you know, for seeing it that way. And I can't take it personal. This is one thing that we have to really practice, is not to take these things personal when we are in a position or a state of compromise. Right? Like, we've been compromised. We're no longer like operating out of love and the true state of where we are, that we're operating out of the ego. But what ends up happening is we take it personal, and we hold that. Okay, you said this, and even this morning when I woke up, I was like, I am going to, every time she's about to do something for me, I'm actually going to go and throw this back and be like, nope, don't do it. Right? I'm like, wait, that's just insane. Right? It's insanity that we want to hold on to that to be more right about it afterwards. And so this is how, in this moment, I can choose, all right, I'm going to stop the chain and the cycle of attack. And I get to break this chain right here, right now, by forgiving the entire thing. I perceived attack, and I attacked, I retaliated back. All of this isn't really happening. Right? Like, of course, I get to acknowledge that she felt what she felt. So I don't want to make her feel like, no, what you felt is completely not real. But this is why this type of work that we're doing is a one-way street. It does not matter how she responds or how she reacts to how I'm going to, go and do the forgiveness process. But I get to be clear right now that I no longer want to participate in this battle. Right? The sword and the shield is down, and I get to, go and, whatever it takes, apologize, and not retaliate. See, what happens a lot for us is we go to apologize. We're finally like, okay, I'm mustering up the being the bigger person here. I'm going to go apologize. And as soon as we apologize, they say something and it triggers again, and it gets into a big fight. Like, I'm sure that's happened before, right? So these are the types of, this fight. I'm grateful for it happening. Right now, I can turn this fight and this angst, this wanting to be right and angry and egotistic, I can turn all of it to gratitude if I can see it from this perspective right now. Like, wow, I'm getting a chance to look at myself, and I get to be better, and I get to do better. Yeah, Natalia, you wanted to say something before Brooke cut you off.
It's really funny because my story, it sounds very similar. As Brooke mentioned, it's not about this, it's about all of this. I was like, oh, that's exactly what they told me. So I went to dinner at my parents' house, and my sister was there. And all of a sudden after dinner, I just get up and I go to the fridge to grab a soda. And all of a sudden, I perceived attack because I perceived my mom raising her voice and kind of like, oh, don't, take the last soda that's in the fridge and da-da-da-da. And so I was like, whoa, what just happened? So in that moment, I attacked back, and I was like, I think I need a vacation time from this family. Oh, and so I went down to the car and I left my phone. It's really funny now, but I remember my sister saying, it's not about the soda, it's about this and this and this and that, and Dad and Jaden, and I'm like, what? How is that all related? But anyhow, I went to the car. I obviously forgot my phone, and I was able to take a deep breath, and I was like, I'll just give it over to the Holy Spirit. And I came back, and I was able to, apologize, have a conversation with her. And I asked, and I said, that I don't like fighting, and with you, and when this comes up, this is what I feel. And so what I said, is there a request underneath of your complaint? Because if there's anything that you'd like to request, maybe I could do that for you. And so she ended up requesting, and she said, well, these bottles, they're glass and they're heavy for me to carry. And so it would be very appreciated if you asked me if you wanted to go grab them. And I said, of course, I can totally do that for you. And so I went, I got the Perrier bottles of water, brought them back, gave it a hug and a kiss. And the really beautiful thing about it all was that fast forward like a week later, I go back and visit. And I don't know what's happening then, but she's like, Natalia, I have a request to make. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I will go ahead and do that. And so instead of like her going to her automatic and raising her voice and being angry and I perceiving the attack, I was like, oh my God, that had never happened before in our relationship. So that was wonderful. And I wanted to share it. And then when you guys went on and said, it's not about this, it's about that, I just like remember what my sister shared. And I was like, oh my God, it's so interesting how we accumulate all these things and like pop it on top of each other. And they're really unrelated, or like I didn't even think about those. But anyhow, that was the miracle moment.
It is. And it's really not even about the piling up of a bunch of things. It's just in this moment right here, right now, I'm agitated and I'm blaming all those things, right? Because I don't, if it's about all the little things, then, you know, it's just a way that we justify our anger and attack, you know, but really all it is that in this moment right here, right now, I'm agitated and, you know, I'll pick up anything small so that I can like lash out, right? This is why we need to do this type of practice on a daily meditation and stuff daily, because we need to ground ourselves so that we're not walking around agitated. You know, too many people right now are walking around agitated and the slightest little thing will set them off. And it's everywhere, you know, when we look at it. So can we respond, you know, to those things without anger, without attack, without judgment, because it's going to show up, but to neutralize it, right? And we can by meeting things with love, because everybody can recognize love and compassion, and we are the teachers of that. By being grounded, by practicing, you know, the principles of A Course in Miracles, or any practice really, you know, meditation, prayer, you know, all of these things are mediums to miracles happening, because we get ourselves in the place of love so that we don't retaliate, right? Because when we walk around with a chip on our shoulders, or we walk around with annoyance and all of that, and then somebody reacts, we immediately go into attack, right? So if we feel annoyed, what's going to happen? All we have to do is see somebody else do something and we will attack, right? So like, you know, this is what I try to encourage love to do a lot is, you know, practicing A Course in Miracles and these types of things on a daily. Right? I listen when I wake up. The first thing I do is I listen to inspiring stuff, you know, whether it's Jim Rohn or Billy Osbrook or Marianne Williamson or something with A Course in Miracles, because I want to start my day like that, you know. And when we don't, yeah, I haven't actually told her that ever. You know, I was just like, it'd be nice if you joined on, you know, my Course in Miracles practices. And we would make little agreements like, okay, well, let's read like a page a day or something. You know, let's spend that time together. You can read to me, you know, whatever you want to read. But yeah, you know, that is one of the reasons why I lose my peace sometimes. Is she does say something along the lines of F your ACIM.
I'm dying.
And I would lose it.
Holy, I love you. Keep going. This is like a comedy show. I feel so good because I'm not the only one that goes through this shit. I love you. Yeah. So I'm dying. I love it. Keep going.
This is why a couple of weeks ago or a month ago, I was like, I think I've made a special relationship with A Course in Miracles. Right? I've made it so special that you can't attack it. If you attack it, we're going to war. I'm like, oh shit, I'm still going to war over dumb shit. Right? It's like she would say things like, oh, well, you know, just a course in miracles yourself. Like something like that too. Like when we get into an argument, why don't you just ACIM yourself? I'm like, go have sex with ACIM.
I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I mean, for real, it is something like that. You know, when she knows, it's like when we get into an argument, what we're doing is we're looking for the buttons. She knows this is a button, but now I get to look at, oh wow, I have a button right here. You know, and I always come back to like, okay, thank you for pressing this button and showing me that there's a button here to be pressed. You know, and if I want inner peace, I get to look at my buttons. Yeah. So it's a funny conversation here. Let's see. Any thoughts and comments on this side? Nope. Okay. Let's see what else. What else about A Course in Miracles? Talking about legacy and what we want to leave behind. And you know, it like from these arguments and fights, if we don't neutralize, if we don't ACIM ourselves, right, what ends up happening is we will project this to our children. You know, things that she's afraid of, like at first I was triggered about this, but now I don't. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Future us problem. We'll decide that later. It's not here right now because she'll be like, okay, our kids never getting this, never doing this, never going to school. We're going to private, you know, homeschool our kids. That's it. You know, they're never going to do this and they're going to do. I'm like, wow. For me, I see it as like just so much fear trying to create something. Right. But if I call it out, that's not going to help the situation. Right? It's actually just going to lead us into some kind of another stupid fight. So I get to just practice being like, here's a bucket, dump it in here, whatever you think you want. You know, it's like, oh, you know, we're going to blow up this, you know, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, oh, it's a little swimming pool thing that I'm going to give birth in, and you're going to sit right behind me. And, you know, we're going to sit in this water and, you know, and when the baby comes out, we're going to leave the cord on for, you know, some more amount of hours. And I don't want to take any of the slime off of the baby because they need to be in it. I was like, what? And we need to hug and hold the baby. I'm like, you know, and you guys, I said it this last couple of weeks ago is, you know, dang, like, I don't want to sit in that puddle of nastiness for, you know, whatever amount of time. You know, when I first said that, she kind of got like angry about it. I was like, oh shit, okay. You know, who knows? When the time comes, she might be like, oh, this shit sucks. Let's just C-section out of this thing. Like, I don't know. But to fight about it now, we haven't even started trying having babies yet. And she's the one that's going to be doing all the work for the whole freaking year carrying this baby. Like, what am I complaining about? So, yeah, it'll just be my job to just do that. Yes, I get that part, you know. And she's like, you're not even reading any books. You don't know shit. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm like, I don't know anything.
All those books that go out the window once the shit actually happens. And that's what's so funny. And I laugh because my sister was the same way. She had everything all planned out, and when shit hit the fan, it didn't go as planned. Like, just like with my second daughter, I was like, okay, we're going. And then we found out she turned last minute. They kept thinking it was her butt or it was her head when it was her butt. Emergency C-section. Like, it never goes as planned. But you can't really tell people that because then they get all defensive and, oh my God. And I'm like, okay. So when my sister's, I was like, yeah, got it. Understood. Got it. And in my head, I'm thinking, you're out of your mind. Good luck to you. Lots of good vibes because this shit is not going to go the way you plan it, but whatever. Do you, boo? We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
And then shit's just going to go haywire. And then my other sister, who's barely getting married, has no kids, likes to coach me on how to be a parent. Oh, I'm like, bitch, you need to sit down, because once you're a parent, then come talk to me. Okay, you're not even married yet, so don't. Everybody thinks they're an expert. Just have fun, get it, take it one day at a time, because shit never goes as planned. So good luck with that.
Yeah, and you know, she's like, I'm gonna fly our friend out there who's gonna be her, whatever they're called. Is it called the midwife? I don't know. Whoever helps.
It's like a doula or something,
yes.
like that. Yeah, because everybody talks about, oh, the glow, and oh my God, it's so wonderful. And no, y'all, they really need to talk about how you're pissing yourself, and you're going to get stretch marks, and how you're putting milk in the cabinet and the dishwasher, and your boobs look like tube socks. Why do you think all the women go get boobs done when they're done breastfeeding? You're like, holy shit, I have a D here and an A here. Not happening. So women get caught up in this aura, in this glow, and because society puts so much pressure on everybody, that when you're sitting there looking like a cow udder with milking your boobs to get milk for a kid that's screaming, you're like, okay, this shit sucks. But you're stressed but blessed. You love it. You're happy. The shit, you try to plan it, God will find a way to F it all up. So when she's saying that, and people are saying like, oh yeah, understood. What do you think? I have no thoughts. I don't know. Do you, boo? If that's your plan, I hope it works out for you. That's it. Yeah. So good luck. Just put a flask somewhere and hide it. Take a sip every now and then when you need something. Just kidding.
Yeah. She's like, and I need to have an orgasm at the same time that I'm going to have a baby. So I'm like,
exactly. While I'm standing on my tippy toes and sprawled eagle, and I want to look like a porno star and a supermodel at the same time. Like, come on, it's not realistic.
I don't know if it's realistic or not. I'm going to just let her believe into it, right? And we'll see, because maybe I'm completely wrong, and who the hell knows, right? And that whole thing is possible. And
we're all wrong.
In the realm of all possibilities in the world, will I all of a sudden have a change of mind about messy and dirty things and be okay with sitting in blood and shit water and all that? I don't know. In the possibility of all things in the world, yes, there could be a moment.
You've never known love, Alex, until your child is barfed on you or shit on you. You kind of learn to let it go. They're kind of like, oh, it's my baby, it's okay. So it'll change in some aspect, a little bit.
I don't see myself wanting to sit in a puddle of that for any amount of time. So, no. But I am open to being wrong. So we'll see when that time comes, right? Oh, man. Okay. Hey, good morning. Good morning. Wow, we derailed from legacy to this again. I guess this is just a funny conversation, and and it's probably coming. So it's kind of like a couple years ago when I was talking about buying a Tesla, and that making it special, and somebody's gonna scratch it, and I'm gonna lose my mind, and I vented it on this call. And then, of course, I get a Tesla, and the second day, somebody backs up and smashes into the back of my car. I didn't lose my peace for 1 second because I practiced on here with all of y'all. So I don't know who was here during that time. Maybe Jessica Garcia, who's not here right now. She's probably part of that. But it's the same thing. I'm going through this right now because y'all are just helping me get through get through that. This is we basically bring the teachings of A Course in Miracles to our everyday life. So how can we practice compassion, love, cultivate forgiveness, and really inner peace? So what we talk about here is some of the practices that we can have to kind of do things with love, right? And what it looks like. So we use a lot of real life examples, and we bring the teachings of A Course in Miracles to it. So kind of just recapping, I guess, a little bit for some of the new people here that are asking questions on Instagram. The purpose of A Course in Miracles is really to facilitate a shift in perception in our thoughts, and so that we can transform our beliefs, our our worldview, our relationships, how we bring love and kindness and peace to everything that we do. And it's for us to have a direct experience rather than being kind of like told what to do, because when you can have a direct experience with source or with God, you will create this connection that can't be taught. So the Course says that love is something that is beyond what can be taught. But what we are doing here is we are looking to help you see all the blockages that you have built up against love. So judgments and grievances and projections and attacks, all of these things are ways in which we build a wall around our hearts and don't allow access to love. Okay, so that's kind of like the gist of it, right? And we talk a lot about the ego, about undoing the ego, because that's one of the central themes of the Course, which is to shift and to see first like what the ego's main objective is. The ego's objective really is to seek but not find, and in this creates just a subtle level of discomfort and pain that we walk through life with. It's like kind of having a rock in your shoe, and we're just like, we get used to it. And so the ego kind of creates for all things just a nice level of discomfort and pain that makes us go through life like kind of just with our heads down. And as we walk with it more and more and more, we start to defend the ego. The rock is now real in my shoes, it's now valuable to me, and all the other things. All right, and we make up all these, we make things now become being right more important than love and kindness, and to find our true selves and our connection to God. So this call, I hear this sometimes with people, that I feel like my true calling in life is to bring people closer to God, is to bring people closer to, whatever you want to call God, like your connection to your higher self, the divine, the source, whatever you want to call it that. But these calls are really designed for us to, pause for a moment. We do this every Sunday and Wednesday morning. We have an hour and a half that I just kind of set aside, and we can pause from our busy lives of just doing, and have a real conversation about what I believe is something that's important for us to ground in. Right now, we do it every Wednesday, Sunday, but I practice this myself every morning, every day, so that I can meet the world with a level of groundedness in love and compassion and peace. So people are always like, wow, how are you always so calm about this and about that? Now, my wife, on the other hand, it's like, you are the opposite of that. She knows where the buttons are and where the triggers are. And all she has to say is that you are not what you're teaching on A Course in Miracles, and I'll probably lose my shit. So, yeah, we're all just, as long as we have a meat suit on, the ego will be there and we will forget. But like we've mentioned before, when you understand that the purpose, if you assign a purpose to forgetting, and every time you get angry and upset, that the purpose of that is to remind you and to strengthen remembering. Oh, it's 11:11. Hello. Is to help you strengthen and remember like the love that is available, and who you truly are. If we can do that, then we no longer judge and dwell in the forgetting. We can very quickly bounce back and say, whoa, thank you for forgetting, Alex, good job. You lost your shit again, and you got into a fight, and you projected back, or you retaliated, so thank you, good job. And now it strengthens the remembering again. Okay, next time when it happens, I am going to completely be zen and I will not retaliate. And I'll tell you guys how that goes, because I keep telling myself that every time. Someday, when I finally do it, I'll let you know. Otherwise, But I think it's the trying, right? The way that we do it, how I'm doing this relationship. I keep going back to it. She's probably, somewhere by herself downstairs in the lobby right now, like still waiting for me to come down to continue this argument. No, actually, she probably knows I'm going to come down and apologize and kiss her hand and heart hug her and all this. She probably knows that it's coming. And her ego's like, no, I'm going to run away from this. I'm not going to allow it to happen. What is retaliation for? I don't know. It's just us, being silly and insane. There's really.
I'm asking because that's what I get every time as well. When he gets triggered for something that I say or do, there's a retaliation. You're gonna feel double or triple what I've been feeling right now, and that's why I'm like, why? Like, I didn't create your triggers. I didn't create your wounds. Sorry that I'm triggered them. That's what I always say. I didn't create your wounds. Sorry that I'm triggered them. That's what I always say. So.
Yeah, but that's kind of just like throwing the shit back into it's like, instead of like saying, oh, okay, so they throw their shit onto your front porch, and you're like, instead of taking it and just putting it in the garbage and be like, okay, cool, try to neutralize them, like, well, that's not my shit, and you take it and chuck it back onto their porch, like, that doesn't resolve anything, right? That only just actually reinforces them and their need for retaliation, because now they got to retaliate against their own stupidity of retaliating in the first place. So it actually just keeps the cycle going. And instead, for us, as we practice and you are attending these calls and finding something, right? Instead of like looking for, oh, well, this is how I've been doing it. It's like, okay, how can I be even more loving, more compassionate? Because at the end of the day, maybe we were the first to retaliate. Right? Oh, well, you left shit on the ground, and I'm going to retaliate against that, and I'm going to attack. So we, I don't know where it starts, but all of us, whenever we get triggered, it's never someone else's shit. Mm-hmm. We can understand that, but we never want to point it out. Right? Like that is a projection. Because first of all, we don't know if that's actually true. Because maybe we did give them the first trauma around it. Who the hell knows, right? Mm-hmm. But can we be more gentle, more kind, and more compassionate than we were the last time, right? And then I
think it's kind of like a Brooke was saying about like it's not about that moment. It's everything that is being accumulated over the time, about like I'm picking up constantly things out of the floor from everybody else, and I asked like nicely for a long time. So it's like, okay, can you please pick up this? Okay, I will. And you walk again and it's still there, and you leave it like 10 times. Well, I'm doing the same thing like a Brooke. I just close the door with my children, like I cannot close the door with my husband because we sleep in the same bed, in the same bedroom. So I can't do that, right? So what I do is like when I can, I pick it up. But sometimes things happen, and like whatever the toiletry. But in my case is there was needles left behind in the floor because Nelson has to get his insulin and it gets testosterone and blah blah blah. And then I already had picked one, and my mom picked another one from the floor, and she punctured herself because you're not supposed to throw needles in the regular garbage. You have to have a hazard container for that.
Yeah.
But then because he was single for 15 years, then he keeps doing things the same way, but we're now being together for 2. And I keep repeating nicely, like, listen, it's not efficient for our dynamic now. So the dynamic is you can't put the needles because it was my mom last week, and this week was the dog. The dog grabbed the needle. And just imagine the dog eats the needle.
Yeah,
and what a nightmare it's going to be that trying to get the dog from the place. So we got into an argument as well, because I just say, I need you to pick up the needles and be present where you're putting them in the right, safe place. And because I say, he understood that he needs to, well, I didn't say you have to. I say, I need you to do this for the better dynamic and efficiency. And I couldn't even explain myself because he got so triggered that it was no conversation to be there. So what I did, I say, this is not the way we're going to have a conversation about that. And I removed myself because I'm not going to get hooked again.
Yeah.
See, but he was going to start the retaliation to me, even though I asked nicely. But in his mind, on his wounds, he was not asked nicely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is the lessons and kind of the karma that we get ourselves into. What are we at the end of the day? Like, we chose our partners, and we are choosing. Did we even choose it? Right? This is God's intervention. Right? And here you go. Boom. And we get to learn, patience. Maybe it's patience that we get to learn. Maybe it's I think majority of that is patience. Just we're always being taught patience, really. It's like, well, there's not enough time. And then patience. Right? The allowing. It's the allowing for things to happen and unfold, and we don't have the patience for that. So just continue to cultivate and dig into that. Yeah. And then also the communication part. There's different ways to communicate. Right. I think men are actually pretty easy to figure out. Right. Like, we're like dogs. Like, here's a reward for doing it. And then we just keep doing it. Or we're like, ooh, I want the reward. I want the reward. We're super easy. Right? Figure out something that we really like, and then just reward us for doing it, and then we'll be trained to do that.
You just say you're super easy, Alex.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna have to jump in on here. So honestly, with me and so with men, and I think a lot of women will side with me, you have to tell them what to do. You have to be specific and give them orders. For women are very observant. I get frustrated when it's like, okay, you see that there's some dishes in the sink. You see this needs to be swept or mopped. Why do I have to tell you to do these things? And for David, my husband, he's just kind of like, babe, just tell me what you want. I've gotten better at that. I'm not a mind reader, babe. He's all like, if you want something done, just fucking tell me and I'll do it. I'm like, yeah, but not without huffing and puffing. It's like men want you to take care of them like their mom by picking up after them, making them 3-course meals every fucking day. But then they don't want you to be like their mom when you tell them what to do. So come on, y'all, pick a battle. But bottom line,
I'm
men need to
outnumbered
be
here.
told.
There's just me and Tim here. Oh, and
yeah, but men need to be told
great.
what to do, because my husband's like, women say one thing and do another, and then you guys are passive aggressive, and you guys, if you don't want to make dinner, you're slamming shit around.
I don't know about you all. Maybe that's just
no. I speak with a lot of my girlfriends too, and they're like, why doesn't he just notice things? And my husband's like, why don't you just tell men what to do then? Hey, give us a honey-do list. There's a reason why there's a honey-do list. We don't want to guess what you want. And I'm like, well, babe, just look around. The dishes might have to be washed. The dog food might need to be fed. Like, you're so oblivious.
I think you and I, Brooke, get to start a little podcast on this, and we can make a very interesting
most
podcast.
Definitely. Like, I'm like, and then for me, I remember the beginning of a relationship, I was coming home getting groceries, and I'm one of those people, I will carry 20 MF hella bags to make one trip, right? So I'm coming in, and he's still just sitting there watching TV. For as a woman,
that's a no-no. See, I've learned not to do that. I've learned the moment the car pulls up, I better get my ass out there. There's a horn honks.
Come help me. I have to ask you for help? Oh, he knows now. And I'm like, are you comfortable?
You just have to
see me
train us.
putting all these bags of groceries away? Come help me. That would be fabulous. And in my head, I just want to like swear and like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But I don't, because I'm self-aware. But that was like, I digress. There's hands up.
Okay, good. I need some backup here. Come on, Claudia. Adam.
Exactly. You know.
He's disguised.
Y'all know me. You know that I can't sit back and just listen to, men need orders, because what's happening is there's a collapsing. And again, it's an ACIM call. So like in the context of ACIM, a man, and this, you can read book after book after book about the sacred masculine, or what I would be usually is used and spoken into the divine masculine. So let's use the word sacred masculine. Let's take it a step further into the heart. Men without purpose are typically sort of like wandering like little boys looking for something to like knock something over or not do something to call for love. It's a subconscious thing, perhaps, as a perspective. Men that are given orders, a lot of times resistance comes up, and it's like, oh, then I don't need to even do anything until she asks me. You see what I mean? So it's like the snake eating its own tail, when really both parties in what's being shown here is a call for love. So like if the groceries or if the thing not getting done or whatever those things are, if a man knows, yes, these things matter to me versus I'm giving you an order, you see the distinction? And so the distinction of a man having a purpose, and if he's actually like, wow, I have a purpose in this relationship, and that purpose is to do these things that mean something to my beloved. If a man at that point is choosing not to do those things, then there's a deeper conversation to happen, because there's been a specific ask, and that man is a sovereign being and has the right to decline the request. And there's a difference between an order and a request. But at the end of the day, in the context of ACIM, it's all a call for love. Like if I know that I can come home and I've got these things that I can do that matter, that push all the good buttons for my partner, then it's going to open up a space of polarity and a dynamic to where that passion and those different things can come in, versus when you don't do this, it shows me that I don't matter to you. Or you'd rather sit there and watch the game than do this thing for me. But meanwhile, the game is important to him. So how can there be a conversation even earlier so that everybody has their needs met, which is really what's being called for, the need met, AKA call for love. So like, it's amazing. I love hearing the passion of the childbirthing experiences, because I can say, going back on that a little bit, like when that baby's coming, all that slime and all that blood, it doesn't fucking matter. It like changes something within, and you can ask me because I've seen it. I've been in the room with 2 C-sections. You know what I mean? Like it's fucked up, and it's the most amazing experience on the face of the planet. Like nothing can top that in my book. But going back to like the dynamic of a man having a purpose, and if the man doesn't have specific, this is what, when you do this for me, it matters. And conversely, for the woman, when this happens, this matters, that you're listening to me. And then there's another thing that I've heard, like, I need you to be present, which is basically saying to most human beings, you're not being present. Versus like, can you come here and be with me with this right now? It really matters to me, because it's pointing to that there's something in the person's way of being that hasn't learned what presence is for that other person, projecting what their idea of presence is. You see what I mean? Like, how the hell do I know what presence is until we sit down and talk about the distinction of presence in our relationship? You know what I'm saying? So like, we're having this conversation and you're speaking Chinese and I'm speaking Swahili, and we're not going to get anywhere other than the first couple of months of the relationship. This is like they talk about in the 5 love languages. First couple months of the relationship, everything's fine until all of a sudden we realize it's 2 different languages being spoken. So what is presence?
Yeah.
You know, because presence can be, I am present to everything all the time, or it can be, I need you to be with me right now because it matters. And when I'm hearing more and more and more on the call, and it's such an amazing call, I'm sitting over at my desk and I like hear Claudia's phone, because I'm like, we don't both need to be logged in. I'm like, I gotta fucking jump in on this because I love working with the dynamics of masculine, feminine.
Yeah.
And it's just really beautiful to notice just a 2-degree tilt to the left goes from order to request. And there's a perfect opportunity for a sovereign being to decline any request or accept the request. And if they decline the request, there's probably something that they're honoring themselves. And I, as a human being, cannot be mad at someone for honoring themselves or give them an order to the contrary. But I can also make a specific request. And after a certain amount of time in relationship, Claudia and I do relationship coaching. You know, those requests don't even need to be made anymore. It just becomes integrated into the whole. And then, sorry, the cat's in pain over here meowing. But I just wanted to share that, like, there's in the understanding that everything is a call for love. That's been my mantra. Like, even if I'm got a stack of to-dos on my inbox, right? And then something comes up in the relationship or with children, and there's a time where I've been a little bit like, I don't have time right now. But that person, child or wife or cat, is asking me something, and I'm making something else more important. There again, I'm choosing a special relationship with work. But the most important relationships for me when I check in with myself are with my wife, my children, and my kitty cat, and my friends. So it's like finding that balance. But a lot of human beings, I would just say for men, or for me, I didn't learn that. It's like we're going to fall down and scrape our knees a couple times before we learn, okay, when I decline someone's request or need or call for love, it actually not receiving the love is more painful than not even giving it in the first place for many people. Mm-hmm. Like if I get a request and it means something for someone and I choose to do something else versus decline the request, that can trigger some stuff. And really it's like, how can I call for love with myself first and foremost? Where do I need to love myself? And also where my shareholders in my life. I think that it's a really important thing. And I think for me, my point in all that is like the mantra of everything is a call for love has really supported me in my reaction, my immediate, like, I don't have time, or order giving, or making little comments. Passive aggressive used to be a little thing that I inherited from my primary caregivers. And I can recognize and now send love to that passive aggressive. Or, oh, it would sure be nice if you pick this thing up. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, hey, like, let's do this together and like clean this up, because, clean house, clean mind is mine, versus projecting and not actually saying what I need. Yeah. So I just wanted to share on that. Love y'all.
Yeah, thanks. It's a really, really good share. And as we kind of wrap up today's call, that was a great place for us to end, and it's good for us to hear both sides, right? Like most of the times, I don't know why, but my calls are dominated with women. It's good to hear, that women kind of have the same requests. Like, even though it comes off as, I'm just annoyed, and how many times I'm going to tell you, or I don't want to be your mom, and this and that. It comes off as that, but there is a request underneath that of us to be, to be more, to take these things seriously, so that, the feminine side, the women don't feel like what they're saying and what they feel doesn't matter, right? Because that's actually something that love would also say. It's like, oh, when you just say yes to something and you don't, ask me what about it, then it's basically saying I don't matter. And I'm like, that is not what, I don't connect those two things, but now, I can see how that could be viewed that way. I'm like, one has nothing to do with the other, but, you guys have, more sophisticated brains than us. So I will just take that as okay, I get to there's a request. Okay. Even though it seems like some craziness, with the request underneath is that, like, hey, make me feel like it matters, right? Like what I'm saying matters. So yeah, we get to learn from each other, and when we share from these perspectives, I think it's a very important conversation to be had. I think men need to have more circles with their brothers, and women need to have more circles with their sisters too. And somebody gets to rise above all the complaints and all the all the bitching and complaints to a higher consciousness of seeing what's going on, right? And That's why these circles are important, and these conversations are important that we're having. So yeah, thank you all for being here today, and listening to my stuff and helping me process my stuff. And I hope in being here that we all get to realize that none of us are alone in what we're experiencing. Okay, and we are all going through it and doing the best that we can. And that whenever we're triggered and our partners are triggered and others are triggered, it is like Adam says, it's all a call for love. And if we can remember that, even our own little child's, children coming out and throwing a fit, it is, we are calling for love as well. And we can be gentle and kind and forgive ourselves as well. So, all right. Much blessings to you all. Have a fantastic Wednesday. And I will be in Florida tomorrow. And I'll see Adam and Claudia tomorrow. All right.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex.
Peace
Thank
out,
you,
everybody. Bye. See you later.